Hello everybody, my name is Dee and welcome to Books and Quirks. Today I'm here to do a tag video. So this is an original tag that was created by Mel over at Mel's Bookland Adventures. She was the one that created the tag. It was posted a couple of weeks ago and I'll link it down below. And she tagged me along with a lot of other booktubers. So it's quite an interesting tag. It's the Choose the Year book tag. So basically you choose a year, either the year you were born or some other significant years, and there are some questions that go along with that. So I will link all of the information down below in case you would like to do this tag. And I may tag a few people myself, but I will put that in the description as well. Okay, so there are only 5 questions to this tag. So number 1, obviously, is what year, choose a year and say why. So I'm going to choose 1980 because that is when I was born. So there you have it. Okay, so you may see me looking down from time to time, and that's because I have all of the questions and everything on my phone. So I have to read it. So number 2 says, which books published in that year have you read, or if none, at least heard of? So Mel was kind enough to give a link to a Goodreads page where you can put in the year, and they give you all of the books published in that year, obviously. So I went through the list, and I had to say, I'm not very well read in that year. There are only a handful of books in that entire list, and it was long, very long, that I've read. So these are the ones that I read that were published in that year. So the first one that I read in that year was The Mist by Stephen King. I read that a long, long time ago. I don't even remember much about it, to be completely honest, but I do know that I read it and I have it on one of my shelves somewhere. There are 3 kids' books that I read and that I loved when I was a kid. The first is The Indian in the Cupboard by Lynn Reed Banks. The next is Petals on the Wind by V.C. Andrews. V.C. Andrews was an obsession of mine when I was like, I don't know how old I was, maybe 10, 11, somewhere around there. I went through a slew of V.C. Andrews books, and I know I read Petals on the Wind. And Super Fudge by Judy Blume. I'm sure you all know this book. I mean, it's even popular to this day. A lot of people in the 3rd and 4th grade read them, and I loved all of the Fudge books, and Super Fudge was one of them. So that was another one that I read. And the only other one that I could find on the list that I read was a Mary Higgins Clark book, and that's The Cradle Will Fall. I went through a Mary Higgins Clark phase in my early 20s, where I just read like book after book of hers, and I have a lot of books, like old books by her, that I still own to this day, and The Cradle Will Fall is one of them. So there you have it. There are hundreds of books in that list that I have not read, and only this small handful that I have read, and 3 are kids' books. So there you have it. Number 3 says, are there any books published in that year that sound interesting or that you would like to read now? There are 4 books that I found quite interesting, and one of them is actually on my TBR. So one is that I just came across in a list was The Last Wife of Henry VIII by Carolee Erickson. I am a huge fan of the Tudor years. As you know, if you've watched any of my previous videos, you know that I read quite a bit from Alison Weir, who writes a lot about the Tudor queens and such, so that might be interesting to me. The one that I have on my TBR is Aztec by Gary Jennings, and I have that on my TBR because of the Reading Through the Ages year-long historical fiction readathon. Aztec is by Gary Jennings is actually a series, but Aztec is the first book, and it's about the Aztecs and their sort of rise to power in their heyday. I think that's the first book. Aztec is sort of when they were, you know, at their peak of their power and empire. Then I have The Ordinary Princess by MMK. That looks quite interesting. And I will link all of the information down below if you want to check out these books. And the only other book, and I don't really know a whole lot about it, but I know it was quite popular on BookTube a couple years ago, actually. It was like a resurgence. And that is The Clan and the Cave Bear by Jean M. Anuel. And I know when I saw other booktubers reading it, it sounded quite interesting to me, and I wanted to read that as well. So those are the 4 books in that list that I found that I would maybe like to read soon. Okay, the next question, number 4, asks the most obscure sounding book. So the most obscure sounding book that I found was Naming and Necessity by Saul L. Kripke. I thought this was such a weird, kind of broad name, and I thought maybe it was a book about names, but it's not. It's a book about philosophy, I believe. And yeah, it's just, I thought it was a little bit of a strange name. I mean, maybe you'll disagree with me, I don't know, but I thought that was a kind of an obscure title. And the strangest book cover is number 5. And the strangest book cover is, I'm going to put a picture here because it's just so weird and a little bit grotesque. And I thought it was weird. There weren't many there weren't many strange or like scary or weird book covers in the list. But I came across this one and I said, this is it. This is it, because this book cover is, yeah, not a fan of it at all. Tell me what you think. But there you have it. I know that was a quick book tag, but those were the 5 questions. I will put all of the information in the description below. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and if you want to do this book tag, please do. And I will see you all very, very soon.